I guess the last thing I can think of, after I came back from Vietnam, I was stationed in Virginia, down the southeast corner in Fort Eustis, by Patrick Henry Airfield, Newport News, and Norfolk and all that, down in that southeast corner where the James River spills into the Chesapeake Bay and down in there. It's kind of nice down there, but it's an awful lot of people. Too crowded, I didn't like it. Well, we flew that crane, that big aircraft, all up and down the eastern seaboard doing all kind of weird things, like lifting huge air conditioner units on top of office buildings. And one time we moved a Boy Scout building, 10 or 15 miles. We just picked it up. They undid it from the foundation and rigged it, and we picked it up and drove off with it. Moved up the road about 15 miles. And another time we had practice loads. Have you ever heard of what a Lark is? A Lark is about as long as this room, about 3/4 as wide, and it's probably as tall as the ceiling. And it's a boat-shaped thing, where it can go in the water, or it has big, huge tires, where when you come out of the water, it'll drive along and you can drive it. It's an amphibious vehicle. Well, they don't have those in the inventory now for many decades. So they filled it with a certain amount of sand to make it an 18,000-pound load. And we used that for a practice load to put it in these confined areas out in the boondocks somewhere. And I was flying with that somewhere over a huge swamp, the Great Dismal Swamp or somewhere down there. I don't remember, in the southeast. And you know, when you pick up a load, it's extremely important that you have certified riggers that rig that load, because it's all between the load and the aircraft is just nothing but nylon straps and the hook. And if it's not rigged properly, if one corner comes loose, then that load won't streamline, and it'll start turning, and that'll wear on the hook and can cause it to come loose in certain conditions. But if it's normally what'll happen, it'll tilt, and it won't streamline in the air, and it'll start swinging. And if that swings, and you know, these two big landing gears are down here on each side, and then there's a nose wheel up front, and that starts banging on those gears, it sets up what's called a resonance between that banging and the rotational tract of the rotor, and it'll start a resonance just like when you lay a plate down on the countertop the wrong way, it sits there and goes, you know, does this for a while. Well, that does that in the aircraft, but there's power to that. And when that manifests itself, it increases until it just obliterates, and the aircraft would just disintegrate in midair. So you do not want the load banging on the gear. Well, that Lark, I picked it up and we were flying along, I don't know, 800 or 900 feet, maybe 1,000 feet over this big swamp. And I was to take it to the other side and drop it, and somebody else would bring it back. And we'd go back and forth with these different loads. There were several different loads. Well, one corner came loose, and it starts swinging. And the crew chief's looking out the back door. He says, "It's going to hit the gear." And I said, "That's good enough for me." Click, I punched that sucker off. Down she went and disappeared in the swamp. Went right went in the water. That was the end of it. No more Lark.